give it to him.
Get your letter, Dennis?
Didn't know there's only one employee.
Used to live over there.
Huh?
Used to live over there.
So I was trying to get him with those.
Brother leaves tomorrow, or one brother in DC. The ones leave Thursday morning. Sister stays until
I assume you're gonna be available, to go to Wapaka. You'll be available to go to Wapaka?
What's in Wapaka?
I mean, Apple.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I will be.
What?
Oh, it was warm playing golf tonight. We went out at 4. I've had roofers in my house for the last 2 days.
Oh, dear.
Metal roof line?
No. Redoing the single roof. They had to tear off. I'm not putting metal on. I don't like that. It would all slide under the deck
Yes,
and I have to shovel every winter.
Only thing George
Enough
was
shoveling to do without that.
Looks like we got a good crowd.
Yeah.
Everybody here too.
Hearing aids through
freaking out. So we just
talked to him, fill out a lot of paperwork, and he submitted that, and I said, is there any? Why? Other people have hearing aids.
We'll call this meeting of the Waushara County Board of Supervisors to order, and we'll start with a roll call.
Mrs. Krantz. Here. Mr. Tim.
Here.
Mr. Piaski.
Here.
Mr. Weddy.
Here.
Mr. Downey.
Here.
Mr. Eckstein.
Here.
Mrs. Clatta.
here.
Mr. Weiss.
Here.
Mr. Gellerup.
Here.
Mr. Crawford.
Here.
Mr. Kirschner.
Here.
I will stand for silent prayer and then the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time is for our public comments, and our first is Deb Pavla.
Hi, just wanted to give 3 quick updates. The first one is about transportation. As we anticipated, we have had some bumps in the road with the new MA Manager system. Some people have not been receiving transportation for their dialysis appointments or other medical appointments. We are working with those people, and I guess what I want you to know is if you hear of those situations, have those participants or those clients give us a call so that we can work with them. And we can make sure that they understand what the process is for trying to get their trip scheduled. For those trips that have taken place, we know that transportation has been sent up from Milwaukee, Stevens Point, and even one trip was done by one of their mechanics who came up to take somebody home from dialysis. So I guess in some ways they are trying to meet the needs, but we knew that at first there would be a lot of bumps in the road. We'll continue to work with them. The second thing is, as you might have noticed, it's a little toasty outside. And, of course, we're concerned when older adults who might have heart problems or medication issues or other things, when there's this type of excessive heat. So I just wanted to remind you to, keep an eye on your neighbors and your friends and your relatives and make sure that they're drinking a lot of water and getting into an air-conditioned place if they can. Know that our home-delivered meals drivers are keeping a good eye on those participants, and everyone right now seems to be in good shape, and the volunteer drivers as well have been sort of monitoring the situation, so we'll continue to address those issues. We have had a couple of people call the resource center looking for air conditioners, and the couple of stores that we called in the county, they did not have any, so if any of you know where we might find some to help out with that, let us know. And a couple of people have asked for ideas on where they can go to cool off. So we have suggested the library, the senior center, grocery store, places like that. So again, if you have any ideas or suggestions, let us know about that as well. Tomorrow, obviously, is probably the day that everyone really needs to tune in and watch. And thirdly, I just wanted to mention very quickly that our Picnic with a Purpose is coming up on August 2nd. This is, for the last couple of years, we've teamed up with the Triad program through the Sheriff's Department, and we've focused on emergency preparedness. This year we decided we'll still have a little bit of emergency preparedness information, but we decided to change the theme. So we're going with humor therapy this time, or the benefits of humor. So just show you real quick, I won't read what it says up there, but if you can see that far, you get an idea of what might be going on. There are going to be some fun things. So if you have a free day that day, feel free to join us at the picnic. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Our next presenter is our Sheriff, David Peterson.
Well, emergency management is keeping an eye on the weather also, and staying in touch with Red Cross and talking about cooling shelters, although we haven't met the criteria for that, and quite frankly, I hope we don't, because that would mean that something else bad is happening. I'm sure that you guys are all more than welcome to come to the picnic that Triad and Department of Aging is putting on. And I'm looking over this crowd here. I don't have any fear of getting wet at that picnic, because I don't think you guys could hit the bullseyes anyway, but you could always give it a try. On a more serious note, I guess, as you consider tonight the guidelines for the 2012 budget, I would like you to consider some of the following. The increase in criminal activity has resulted in increased workload for the sheriff's office. I want to say that we were in the only growth industry, although I think growth we might have turned the corner, hopefully. And this is happening at a time when respect for other people's property and rights seems to be deteriorating. In addition, smaller police agencies, smaller jurisdictions are either struggling to maintain their level of law enforcement services or are contemplating reducing services. What this means to the sheriff's office is that if they're not there, we don't have a choice. We will respond to those jurisdictions also, in addition to what we've been doing. Other factors contributing to the increased workload include, but are not limited to, the unfortunate situation that some of our towns and villages find themselves in with their own budget constraints. And I guess the second thing is community expectations, that all cases can be resolved with high-tech equipment and within 60 minutes, kind of CSI with Share County. And that is not true, but like a lot of other things, we get our truth is based on what we see on TV. The requirements of the law have made our job more difficult. And I'm not complaining about that, because I think part of the reasoning for that is that we make sure that we protect the rights of everybody, and that we don't mistreat anybody, and everybody gets a fair shake at the table when it comes to law enforcement, regardless of where they might be at in their personal lives. Recorded interviews are almost mandatory in some things, and in order to get a case through court now, it's becoming mandatory for everything, which means more work, more transcription, but again, it means better cases, less chance of somebody going back on, oh, I didn't say that. And then I think what I'm seeing is just the total disregard of other people's rights and property. That seems to be the attitude of a growing minority, and I stress the word minority, because I think we spend 90% of our time with 10% of the population. Well, Share County enjoyed an extended period of time of increased revenues, as a result of inmate bed renting. This enabled the sheriff's office to spend far less to house county inmates than other jails of comparable size. This revenue stream came to an abrupt halt this past spring. This loss of revenue cannot be made up entirely by a similar cut in operating expenses. Even though they are inmates, there is a standard of supervision that must be met to ensure the safety and security of the jail, as well as meeting legal standards and local expectations. They are somebody's children. They are somebody's parents. They have children of their own. The sheriff's office has already made staff reductions. These reductions have already had a negative impact on law enforcement services. Staff, the administrative staff, is generally working 8 to 16 hours a week beyond their required 40 hours. Proactive activities such as interacting with agencies such as town and village boards and fire departments are having to be reduced. There will be no time for residents to meet residents on their own turf, such as Senior Center, ARP, Triad, and other places where we try to reach out to meet people on their own turf where they're comfortable talking to us about what's bothering them, what they know, because we live on information that we get from other people.
Dave, your 3 minutes are up.
The proactive costs are a vital source of information. Instead of solving crimes, we will return to taking complaints. This is not community policing. This is not what our residents expect or deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have an agenda, and we need a motion.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Dennis Weddy, second by Donna Colada. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Minutes of our prior meeting in June, how do you find?
I'll make motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Larry Crawford, second by Bill Downey to approve the minutes of the prior meeting. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. We're going to get into old business, what we had brought up at the last meeting, and Deb's going to head this up, a discussion, a possible action item on 2012 budget guidelines.
Good evening, everyone. The state has given us more directives. They've passed their budget. They're telling us that the levy increase is limited to 0 with a credit for new growth and new construction. We won't get those numbers until September, so we don't know if we're going to realize any new growth or not. The other thing, they do have some exemptions of things that you take out of the calculation when you are figuring out if you stayed within their guidelines. Right now, it would be the debt retirement. We just bonded, and so that debt retirement is exempt from that. Ambulance services is exempt from that, and library funding is exempt from that. So we do have a little wiggle room. The other thing, we have never taken advantage of the full amount that we are able to tax, and they are giving us some abilities to use some of that funding if you so choose. I guess the thing that we all have to accept is that the economy is bad, property taxes are high, and so we have to balance what people can afford with the services that we provide. All of our departments are important, all of our services are important, and I would encourage you to think of balance. We have, if you take us out of balance, it's just going to dump more and more and more into the law enforcement area, because you have all your support systems in place. If you start cutting that area, it is going to tip that scale, and you will need more law enforcement. So I would just ask you to keep that in mind as you're considering how you're going to fund things. So the executive committee talked about it a little bit the other day, and what they would like to recommend is that the levy amounts for the departments stay at the same funding level as they received in 2011. Not all counties are doing that. Some counties are actually cutting, but they are saying let's try to keep it at the 0%. Because there are some things built into the budget, such as employees will start paying 5.8% of retirement. There's 47 of them that will start this year. I tried to explain that in my report. Quite a few will be added to that at the first of the year. There's a few exemptions from that. Public safety That is still a negotiable item for those employees, so, you know, I can't tell you if they'll be paying or not. We'll try to do that through negotiations. So there is some amount of money in there that we would be cutting back in our expenses. Things that I'll find out tomorrow are health insurance. We don't know what our health insurance renewal is going to be for 2012. And so I need some guidance from you. You know, do you want to change health insurance? Do you want the personnel committee to talk about premium shares? You know, how far do you want us to go with that kind of thing? So that's another thing that I would like you to talk about. The budget bill had a provision in there that you bargain total base wages. That's the only thing you bargain for with the general employee. And the WERC actually sets the maximum. You can go less than that, but they actually set the maximum. And I looked up the CPI for the past 12 months, and it was, they pull out food and they pull out energy, and it was 1.5%. So, so that is, you know, kind of about the number, the maximum that we would be able to do if we were to give an increase. So that's another thing I would like you to give me some guidance on. Do you want us to try to give a minimal increase to employees to offset some of the amount that they're going to be starting to pay out of their pocket? So some other things to think about that, and we do this every year. We ask departments to look at all the programs that they provide. Are they still relevant? Is this still what we need? They should look at their user fees. Are the user fees sufficient? We have some departments that have been very, very proactive with regional approach. Public Health, Department of Aging, they've done a lot of things regionally. It's been very successful. I guess if you want as a directive that we start looking at more regional approaches, I really need you to ask yourself, do you have the stomach to reduce our workforce? Because ultimately that's what's going to happen. And so if you give us that directive, you know, we'll start looking at these things, but, you know, when it comes to making that tough decision, are you really going to want to do that? So I don't want, you know, us to be chasing our tails if you really aren't interested in that. Let's see. Health insurance we'll talk about tomorrow with Terry Mart's agency. Another thing that I'm working with the state committee. It's consolidation, collaboration, cross-training, and contracting out for goods and services. And we're compiling a list of things that other counties have had success with, identifying maybe statutory inhibitions or things that are kind of holding back that effort. But it's very interesting. There are a lot of counties that are doing a lot of consolidation and collaboration. And I guess the thing that I want to end my part of this with is that we have some amazing department heads in Waushara County, and you know, we're in a challenging time, but we're going to get through this. And if you give us some good guidance, you know, you're going to get some very good product out of this. So, but I need you guys to give us the guidance and then make sure that when you go back to your controlling committees, that whatever rules you set, everybody's following those same rules. So, and that's what I'm asking of you. So now I'm hoping to get some feedback from you as far as what you feel is appropriate for 2012.
Okay, now discussion on this. What are your thoughts? That 1.5% raise, if we can work it in there, is that acceptable for the employees? Fred?
Could I ask how much have the employees been bitten by whatever has happened with the budget repair bill in Madison? How much of a hit do they take?
The 47 that will have to start paying the retirement this year will pay 5.8%, but it is calculated pre-tax, so they will not feel the full effect of that. In 2012, it's increasing to 5.9%, and the majority of our employees will be paying it at that time. We have contracts that will end at the end of this year, and so those employees will start paying that. So the majority will be 5.9%. Public safety, again, is exempt from that right at this point in time. So.
And one more question. Can you tell me what is the percentage that employees currently pay for health insurance?
Probably the majority of them are paying 15% for the health insurance. We do have some folks that are very long-term employees hired prior to, I think we started switching that in 1992, and 1994 was the last that we switched that. So there are some that were grandfathered in at 10%. The executive committee had made a recommendation that when we start looking at policies, that perhaps everyone should be at 15%.
And can you tell me how that compares with what other counties are doing in terms of their share of health insurance?
Well, I think you're going to find, because the state, the folks that are with the state health plan are mandated to be at 12%. So my guess is you're going to see a lot of people that are somewhere between 12 and 15%.
Okay.
We actually were one of the trendsetters to go to 15% way back when.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Yes,
We
Dennis.
will not find out apparently until tomorrow then what the change in insurance rates might be.
We will have a preliminary idea. They normally won't commit this early in the year because they want a certain amount of months utilization and claims review before they actually commit. But we'll have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be.
I think we need to look at that along with the possible 1.5%. You know, if it's an inordinate amount of increase in insurance, I think we really have to be careful with the 1.5 as well.
Yeah.
Anything else? Fred?
I just wondered, what is the deductible on our the current health plan we have?
We actually have a couple different levels of plans. We have a point of service plan that the employer is able to go pretty much to any physician that they choose to. It's $1,000 deductible, $2,000 family. That is probably our most expensive plan, and if any of them are on the chopping block, I would say it's that plan. We have bargained in one of our units to discontinue that plan altogether, and because of the changes in the budget bill, we don't actually have to bargain insurance anymore. So that probably is one that I will suggest that we eliminate. We have an HMO plan that has a $1,000 deductible, and we have a high deductible HMO, which is a $5,000 or a $2,500 single, $5,000 family deductible. And the majority of our employees are on that plan.
The 5,000 is the high HMO, you said?
Yeah, it's a high deductible HMO, and we have been putting money into HSAs on their behalf, and they can also contribute to that. But it is by far our least expensive plan.
Joe?
I think we should push for the 0% increase across the board. I know there's other counties, and I keep track of 2 or 3 other counties around it are doing that or much, much more. Some counties are going 3 to 5% cut across the board. Some counties are not replacing retired employees in highway departments and stuff like that, and not buying equipment. So I think we're in good shape as far as we are. So if we stay at the 0, we should be able to make it go.
Okay. Anybody else?
As far as the retirement goes? Right. Okay. Public safety would be the sworn officers and our full-time unionized EMS folks, the ambulance folks. And it continues on into the supervisors that supervise that group. They would fall under the same, whatever we would bargain with the unions, they would fall under the same restrictions. The one exception to that is people that are hired after June 29, 2011, they will have to start paying their 5.8% share when that contract expires. So it won't help us for the remainder of this year, but it will start kicking in next year.
How many contracts are still out there that have to be negotiated this year? There haven't, that ended. I want to know, I guess probably what I'm seeing is which of the unions does their contract end this year?
There are all 3 of the AFSCME units, their contracts end December 31st of this year, And then there are 2 WPPA. One is the sworn officers. That one will end at the end of the year. And then there's the corrections dispatch, which will end at the end of the year. So of the 3 AFSCME units, everything will end except for total base wages. Except in the courthouse union, where our ambulance drivers have been in that unit, we will have to pull them out and we will have to negotiate a separate contract with them. And then on the WPPA side, the corrections dispatch unit will only be total base wage. That's what we will bargain with them. But the deputies, it will be the full contract other than health insurance.
Well, that certainly clears it up.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And then also our nurses have an extra year yet.
Yeah, they're settled through the end of 2012.
I think that if our health insurance doesn't go up, I think we shouldn't raise our 1.95%. I don't think we should raise that.
Okay.
I didn't quite hear what you said. If the health insurance does not go up?
Yes, I don't think we should.
Well, you know it's going to stay the same.
Well, I guess that it could potentially stay the same. Again, I don't know. The other thing, you have the option of doing plan design because everything's changed now in this new world. So you could actually change plan design if that was your choice.
Fred?
Can you tell me, what is the current work week for staff?
The majority of the courthouse union and like highway union it's a 40-hour work week. The human services is generally 37 and a half for full-time, and public health is 37 and a half for their full-time unionized staff. So, but the majority, I would say, are 40 hours. The WPPA folks, because of their hours, one pay period they might work, the deputies anyway, one pay period they might work 69 and the next they'll work 90 something, so it depends what the pay period is. Corrections folks, theirs is based on 40 hours a week, 2,080 hours a year. The dispatch is less than that. I think it's maybe 1,800 or something like that. Theirs is a little different. Or I'm not, yeah, but it comes out to 2,100 something in a year. Yeah, corrections is a little higher, yes, I'm sorry.
And is there anything to be gained by making all the other staff that is now not 37 and a half, putting them to 37 and a half hours? Is that
If that's, we can do all kinds of things if you want to. I guess I just don't want them then to say we don't have enough help now. I guess you're going to have to balance all that out. So, we can do, it's pretty open, whatever you want to do.
You can do that with your general employees around, but you get into law enforcement and ambulances, there's 24/7. You can't do that because you would have to hire more help in order to accomplish it.
So would department heads have knowledge of whether or not a plan like that would work to reduce the staff to 37 and a half hours, as already some are? And, would it work for them? How else would we know if that's a wise thing to do?
We can ask the department heads if that's what you would like us to do. We can find out. Would you want to change the hours of the courthouse then? Because right now it's 8 to 4:30, with the majority taking a half hour for lunch. In the other union, I think it's 8 to 4:30 and they take an hour for lunch. So how would you want that set? Would you want to change the courthouse hours, or would you want the longer lunch periods?
I don't know that I want to change any of it,
Okay.
but would it work to change the courthouse hours? Is that a feasible thing to be doing?
Every county does it a little different, so, it would have to take a lot of public education so that people know these are the new hours. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess
But, if you want us, we can certainly have a department head meeting and we can certainly talk about it. There might be some departments that'll say, we can make it work, and there might be some that'll say, sorry, you know, it's gonna be tough, so.
Well, I'm thinking of one other thing, as long
Okay.
as I'm at this. How about fees for services that are offered? That's a user's fee, if, you know, I understand that correctly. If the fees went up, you know, for zoning and the clerk's office, would that be a possibility?
I think every year we tell them to look at user fees and, you know, make sure that we're competitive, but yet, you know, we're getting an appropriate amount of money to help offset the cost of that program.
Fred, we do that every year, and then we compare with the surrounding counties also. So if we're too low, we raise it. If we're too high, then we leave it the same and so forth. But that has been looked at every year, and that's what we give the directive for this year also.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Keep it at 0 and try to give them a 1.5? Budget time will tell. We have to work up the budget starting shortly.
Would you feel more comfortable that you just, don't actually set a percentage, but just say if we can do some sort of a minimal increase and stay within the guidelines, that is palatable to you? Maybe would that make you more comfortable?
I think that would sound better.
I think so, yes. I think that would sound better, but also I'm really curious where this health insurance is gonna go.
Okay.
I've never seen health insurance go down.
Well, without changing the plan.
Right.
And that I don't know.
Exactly.
I can call you tomorrow and tell you.
Give me a call. Phone lines are open.
We need somebody to make a motion of that effect.
Did Joe make the motion?
We have no motion yet.
Please be specific, whatever your motion is.
Make a motion that we keep it at 0% increase. Look at for the budget, a 0% increase for the budget. Look at what the insurance is, and if it's possible, we can look at a raise for the employees, depending on the health insurance, and everybody do the best you can.
Okay. Everett?
I'm a little nervous about putting a max because if the CPI is different than that, and because the WERC actually gives you that rate. They'll actually tell you this is the maximum amount you can go. So maybe based on what the WERC actual rate is would be a better way to phrase that.
And I do agree with Deb. We have great department heads, and I know they're trying, you know, just as much as, you know, we're trying. And I think if we work together, we can get it done.
Okay, we got a motion, Fred.
I'd second.
We got a second by Fred. Now, any more discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Okay, now we're going to get into our presentations on new business. And we're going to start out with East Central Regional Planning Commission update from Eric Pauli, our Executive Director. Eric.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, supervisors and staff, for some time in front of you this evening. As you know, I try and get out to your boards annually and all of our member counties to give a little update, progress report, give you a heads up as to what might be coming down the road. As most of you know, East Central is a quasi-governmental entity. It's supported. About 30% of our total budget is derived from a direct levy to the member counties. The report you have in your hand, we produce annually to try and document, share with you, the general public, the work of the Commission and essentially trying to meet its statutory charge of preparing and implementing a regional comprehensive plan as well as fostering intergovernmental cooperation. I know you may have received copies of the report before. I'm not going to go through it in detail. There's a green sheet in there that I'll refer to a little bit, a summary, if you will. If you don't have a need for the extra copy, please give it to the clerk or staff to put on counters out there at the courthouse for the public to take. And there are a few extras up here for the public as well. I think 2010, 2011, even with a lot of the budget concerns and things that counties are dealing with, didn't impact us as an agency a great deal other than ultimately the money end, and I'll talk a little more about where that's going at the end here. But I think the report itself shows that we continue to adapt where necessary, try and leverage additional funds to replace ones that might be lost from the counties over time. I think we're working on projects of a scale and a nature that are well suited not only to our region and your county, but we think it'll help poise your county and the region in the future to take advantage of other opportunities. A few projects I'd like to highlight and talk about on the sheet here. We did a little bit of work on the back end and kind of behind the scenes with a number of counties on doing a survey sent out to businesses, schools, restaurants, other entities regarding interest in energy and composting. Those survey results, I can get you the details if you like, but there was certainly a lot of interest throughout the region. Kathy Tunas of my staff has been working with a group, I think, originally led by CAP Services, and actually our commission at the end of the month will at least entertain a thought of our agency stepping into the lead on that effort and providing support in hopes that we can foster a regional program or a series of sub-regional programs dealing with food waste issues. The transportation program is still the strong suit of our agency. We do a lot of work, obviously, in the urbanized area where a lot of the traffic problems are. But we do provide assistance where we can at a local level based on requests for information to your towns, villages, and cities. We work with county staff to help prepare the coordinated public transit human service plans. By the way, that whole MA issue that was mentioned earlier, we're getting similar feedback from other counties and really some horror stories out there. We're well aware of that. We're keeping in communication with some state legislators. Our commission may take some action or give us some direction as staff on what we might be able to do to assist in getting those problems resolved. I think the more voices you have out there on these issues, the better. So we'll keep on top of that as well. Safe Routes to School program has really been a success, model for efficiency for delivering a DOT and a federal highway program ultimately. Speaking with DOT staff, they've essentially, with our involvement in doing this, have facilitated development of these Safe Routes to School plans for 89 schools within our region at a much, much lower cost than what it would take the normal process of hiring a consultant, et cetera. I want to say the numbers were about an average of $20,000 going the normal process. They're spending about $3,000 to $4,000 per school going through East Central and doing this. And those monies have been 100% funded. Unfortunately, getting a peek at the federal budget and the transportation reauthorization, it looks like a lot of those niceties that deal with bikes and pedestrians, alternative transportation may be eliminated. So this program may not last from a federal funding standpoint. If there's things that you'd like to offer comment on in that process, we would certainly suggest you do so. Fox, Wisconsin Heritage Parkway, large-scale regional effort, really born over 20 years ago within partly our agency at the time. That's moving forward. It covers a very small part of Waushara County, but we expect the impacts to certainly spill over the boundaries of that corridor. We had a change in congressional leadership. We had everybody on board to support what would be Wisconsin's first heritage area designation. The group has had to start from scratch, re-educating some new congressmen, but things are going well. We're pretty sure that will come along. Economic development, the exciting thing last year was that we wrote and got an award from EDA for $133,000 to initiate a trade adjustment and assistance grant, essentially going to be looking at opportunities for local businesses within our region and Bay Lakes region to expand into the global marketplace. So this year, consultants were hired, work is being done, and we expect to finish that in early 2012, report the results back out to the county boards, of course, and other entities, and then provide some assistance, follow-up to some of these businesses or communities that really have some opportunities there. I think I'm going to stop there with some of the big picture things. We provide a lot of local level assistance, receive calls all the time from communities. We have a technical assistance program, and working on the county's park and rec plan this year on that, and requests will go out soon. So keep in mind, think of local level projects, get those into us this fall, and we'll see what we can do to incorporate things. On the budget end, good news, at least from our end. I'm sorry I can't speak for everybody else's end, but we've looked at our budget. Steering committee will make a recommendation to our full commission for the end of next week, but it appears we're going to reduce the total levy by about 5.9%, and that translates into about a 7% reduction for Waushara County. So we continue to do more with less. I think we provide good value for the dollars that are spent, and we hope we can continue that. It's going to be a challenge, but I think next year still looks good. So if there's any questions, be more than happy to answer those.
Any questions for Eric? Well, thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you. Appreciate the time. And you know where to find me if you've got questions, concerns, or ideas. Particularly interested in the list that you generate from the other counties on cooperative aspects.
I can email it
And
to you.
do keep us in mind if there's something we can have a role in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, there's our 4-H ambassadors.
I want to thank you. It's a privilege for us to be here tonight to talk about 4-H. Many of you have a 4-H connection. How many of you were 4-H members? All right. How many of you were 4-H parents? Grandparents? Several of you have to keep your hands up. And is it a great-grandparent?
Great-grandparent.
Great-grandparent? As well as volunteer leaders. So tonight we have the privilege of having 3 of our ambassadors here. Another, what we decide, 4 are at a mandatory state fair dairy meeting. So if you get a chance to go down to the Wisconsin State Fair, throughout the fair we will have animal exhibitors down there. Our dairy kids are meeting tonight, but we also have livestock exhibitors. We also will have part of our ambassador group working in the 4-H Action Center, interacting with the youth that come to State Fair, as well as some of our non-animal exhibits which received grand champions last year at our county fair will be down there. So just a quick demographic update. We have 15 clubs throughout the county, as well as an after-school program at the Plainfield and Hancock communities. This summer we're doing one in both Plainfield and Hancock, and throughout the school year we work cooperatively with the after-school program at Tri-County to offer some additional enrichment programs there. And we reach about 50 kids throughout the year in that particular program. Part of that is outreach to the migrant or the Hispanic families, so that's part of our goal with that particular grant project that we do have. I'm going to turn it over to our ambassadors. Each of them is going to talk about 1 or 2 things that are a highlight of their 4-H experience, and they decided to go from the oldest to the youngest. So our first speaker is Josh Marinack from the Oasis Prairie Ramblers.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules at these meetings to listen to us and to let us plead our case with budget cuts and everything. We feel it's important to let you guys know that what you let us do through the county and let us share all of our experiences and all of our projects and our interests with the rest of the county is extremely important to us, and we thank you very much for giving us that opportunity. And to start with, one of the biggest things in my life is agriculture. My dad worked on a dairy farm, all my uncles worked on the same dairy farm, and I myself work on a pickle farm, Lauer Pickle Farms. If any of you guys have gotten out that way to see their facilities, that is where I currently hold a, I would say, full-time position. It's more than 40 hours a week. And I do probably 75% of my projects are vegetables that I grow in my garden with my mom. And I guess I'd just like to say it's a very large part of my life, agriculture, and it's a very large part of the community. And it's great that we get the opportunity to share the products that we grow and that we take time to produce and share it with the community and show it off that as Waushara County, countyites or whatever we are called, that we get to share our products with the rest of Wisconsin, whether it's at the state fair or it's just in our county. People come to see that, and we thank you very much for doing that. And also, through the 4-H, all of us, I assume, have been on a trip, whether it's to a campground or if it's out-of-state exchange or it's just a trip downtown to see something with our 4-H club. It's great that you guys fund 4-H and they fund us to see parts of the nation that we're never going to see if it wasn't for that funding, if it wasn't for that group of people who took the time to work to make that happen. And I recently came back from Kentucky on a very, very inspirational trip. We saw a lot of culture down there, a lot of history. We went to Mammoth Cave. We went to the Bat Factory. I know baseball is a big American tradition. It's one of the things that we wanted to see. We also go down there for the cultural standpoint, and we saw a lot of historical factories, a lot of historical moments in the nation's history. We were down by the borders of the Civil War. We were crossing the Ohio River a lot. We went out on a steamboat. And we just saw a lot of history in the world, or for the United States, and it was really great that we got that opportunity. And I'd just like to thank you.
Next is Rebecca Grosskreutz, and Rebecca's a member of the Mount Morris Pioneers.
Okay, I'd like to say hi to everyone, and thank you for letting us have the opportunity to speak today. Speaking of projects, a big project in my life has been the goats, and I've never had animals before 2006, and I started out with 3 goats. Currently, I have 19 because this past year we had 11 babies. And it's been a really exciting experience because it teaches a lot of responsibility and a lot of know-how, and you get to demonstrate them at the fair. Well, not demonstrate, but show. And it's really fun, but unfortunately, the goat project has dwindled down a lot since I came into, but I don't know, less competition, I guess. But I really enjoy the goats because, again, they teach you responsibility, and you have like little animals that respond to you, and they love you, and it's amazing how I've learned a lot from them. So thank you.
Teddy Kretzmann is a member of the Pine River Rainbows. We have to bring something. Teddy has a prop that we're going to share with you.
4-H has given me the opportunity to do self-determined projects. And this is one of the ones I've done. It is a Pelton design water turbine, which is made out of plexiglass.
There's a connection here.
Without 4-H, I would have never had the opportunity to build this turbine. And if I never had had the opportunity to build this, I would have never been able to tell you how hard plexiglass is to cut. Or that there is a special type of glue that you should use when gluing it. Also, I would not be able to tell you the difference between a Pelton design turbine or a Kaplan. One requiring a jet-injected pressurized stream or a simple gravity feed. Building this, I have learned that 4-H has definitely taught me how to think by myself, how to think very positively, and how to dream and build what I dream of. Thank you.
What I would just add to what Teddy's saying, I went to be the 4-H youth development agent here in Waushara County today. If it would have been for my 4-H experiences. So, and I think a lot of you, and you'll find there's a lot of famous people throughout the world that will credit a lot of their 4-H experiences to helping them to be who they are today. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we're going to have our Veteran Service Officer, Bill Rosenau, give his presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, supervisors, staff, guests. Bill Rosenau with Waushara County Veteran Services. I do have a presentation which I will post on the county website if anybody's interested in downloading it. Just wanted to give you a quick update what's been going on over the past year and a half, where my office is at and where I'm hoping we're heading. Of course, the focus of our office is to basically meet veterans' needs. Doesn't matter what those needs are, we're going to meet them. Whether it's through referral to other resources, direct compensation from the federal or state level, we're going to find some way to help a veteran with any problem they've got, veterans or their survivors. Big focus over the last year has been outreach, and it's paying some dividends. Up here, if we could advance the slide. Actually, next one would be okay. If we do a comparison, we look at calendar year 2010. The back pay there is one of the units that we use to measure business in the office. In 2009, that was a record year, and that was $411,000 in back checks. That's money that's owed during the processing lag. So we realized a $250,000 increase in that in 2010. Looking like we're probably going to close to double that this year. That's just, we're looking at $1 million directly into the pockets of Waushara County veterans in compensation just from processing lag alone. We're well on our way to nearly doubling the amount of people coming into the office. We're gaining a lot of new veterans, and by new veterans, that's not specific to OEF, OIF, the current crop of veterans. I'm actually getting more Korean War veterans, more Vietnam-era veterans coming into the office. I'd like to blame that on my good looks and charming personality, but I honestly think it's the age wave in the economy. We're getting a lot of Vietnam vets hitting retirement age now. I just want to share a couple of success stories. I really appreciate Norm actually suggesting me putting this presentation together, because my office is actually literally changing lives on a fairly routine basis, and I don't know if folks really realize that. In October, there were 3 new Agent Orange presumptive conditions introduced by Congress. So promptly I had Dawn pull all the deceased Vietnam veterans and review their records to see if they had died of any of these presumptive conditions. We sought out their survivors, basically to say, hey, there may be a benefit here. Found one young lady whose husband had passed in 1997. She had previously tried to claim service connection for cause of death, and it had been denied. She was living on $654 a month. We actually talked her into coming in and refiling. She was pretty hesitant because she didn't want to go through the process again. But we talked her into it, and right there you see the bottom line. They went all the way back to the original date of claim, gave her a little over $250,000 in back pay, and nearly doubled her monthly income. Another one, and I'm still working this one. Had a veteran call me up, and this is just saying, you know, if it's a veteran with a need. Wisconsin Department of Revenue said, hey, we haven't seen taxes from you since 1991. You owe us $310,000 in estimated taxes. I said, wait a second, this guy hasn't worked since 1991, had no earned income. That should be fairly obvious. I mean, it's IRS and Social Security records. Wisconsin Department of Revenue said, tough. We fought the heck out of it for about 3 months. Ultimately, you know, this guy had nothing. They actually shut down his bank account. He couldn't access a penny. Ended up winning that one. They forgave the entire amount of the debt, and good news, they just released some presumptive Agent Orange presumptions for the Korean demilitarized zone for Vietnam-era veterans. And we may actually be able to service connect that laryngeal cancer, get him free medical for it, and hopefully a whole bunch of money. And one last success story. This one was kind of rapid fire. I work hand in hand with the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program up at King. A gentleman named Rich Harris. Not the most dynamic guy in the world, but definitely the most big-hearted. He actually came to us with a veteran with a name and said, "Hey, I heard this guy's having some problems." We contacted him, found out that this guy was really on the brink of death. Got him into VA treatment within, actually it was less than 24 hours. It was between 12 and 24 hours. Actually got him into treatment. Applied for some grants, fixed his teeth because he really wasn't a good job interviewer. Got him into the homeless program. Bottom line right now, he has full-time employment and a new home. I sit on the Wisconsin County Veteran Service Officers Association's Legislative Committee, and as you can guess, this last year has kept us hopping pretty good. Had a couple of real big wins, and I really want to thank the board for your support on the Veterans Trust Fund resolution. It worked. The Joint Committee on Finance in this last budget included a $5 million bailout. We asked for 3.7. They gave us 5. That was sweet. And has also instructed the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs to find a permanent stream of revenue to support our state veterans benefits. An unexpected win. We've been pushing for years, or the veterans community has been pushing for years for the full reinstatement of post-911 versus the Wisconsin GI Bill. We have a federal level benefit that our veterans are forced to use in place of a state level benefit, and that usage actually costs them the state benefit. We thought that was wrong, and fought it hard. It kind of looked like it was a dead issue, and then we have an angel sitting in the Joint Committee of Finance because they snuck it in the budget, and it got signed to full restoration. We now have the veterans eligible for both benefits, which pay for their schooling. This one, mixed emotions. This was actually one of our losses. I don't know if anybody's familiar with SB 96, AB 97. It passed just a couple of weeks ago. Bottom line is the Secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs is now a governor-appointed position. In the past, it was run by the Board of Veterans Affairs. They were the head of agency, and they've now been dropped to an advisory role only. Don't know how that's going to work. I think it depends entirely on who they put in that position, whether he's going to be just there to satisfy the boss or if he's out there to look out for veterans. We'll see. Lots of success in working with Red Granite Correctional. In the past, I could only stand up in front of a room and tell them what's going on. Now I can actually sit down and do claims with them right there at the prison. I've managed to get the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program coordinator coming with me on a monthly basis to help these incarcerated veterans transition back into the community with jobs, places to live, the whole bit. I'm increasing or have increased my meal site visits to 3 times per year rather than just twice. And another big success, went to a job fair in Appleton. We had 115 veterans show up, about 43 different vendors, and 23 of those veterans walked out of that building with jobs. That doesn't include the ones that walked out with potential offers. That's straight up, they had jobs when they walked out. That was a pretty huge success. Looking forward, this past year, Dawn got nationally accredited. I got to look out for my job. If she were a veteran, she's now qualified to hold it. We're making progress towards a mobile electronic claims ability. Right now, I have to have people come into my office, do a whole ton of paperwork, kill a bunch of trees. The VA on a whole, and now I'm prepping myself to be able to go to a veteran's home, produce an electronic claim, pop it off right there, done. Right now it requires about 4 visits to my office to put in a claim. This would let us do probably 2, which would be nice. And continue to try to attempt to, reduce the paper in the office. That's a lot. I don't know if you've been to my office, but I've got one room that's just file cabinets, and it's pretty incredible. One of the concerns, and hard on the heels of the talking about the budget, probably not the greatest time to talk about it, but I'm going to just bring it up. And I brought this up before. One piece of my budget that will never, ever be able to be reduced is care of graves. I think I've said this in the past. They don't make less dead veterans. In fact, we have a tendency to make more and more. That's one piece of the budget that will never be able to be 0% growth. So anytime we do a 0%, I'm stealing from somebody else because that one just keeps getting bigger. Pretty big bang for the buck. I don't think I put this up there. Last year, about $16 million into Waushara County in direct and indirect compensation. That's my budget's a little less than actually a little less than that on the levy. My tax levy is a little less than 1% of what I actually bring into this county. I really appreciate the time. Anybody have any questions? Thanks much.
Well, thank you very much. Very good presentation. Okay, now we're going to continue on to discussion and another possible action item, operational agreement between Waushara County and U.S. Department of Agricultural and Natural Resource Conservation Service. Joe?
Make the motion to approve it.
Motion by Joe to approve, second by Mrs. Krentz. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. We got consideration possible action on the following resolution.
Resolution 29-07-11, resolution authorizing additional hours per week for a child support specialist position.
I would move to approve that resolution.
Dennis Weddy, do we have a second? Second by Donna Colada. Any questions on it? Deb is here if you have any questions on it.
Or hours a week will they work?
Okay, Deb?
And why is it necessary?
Okay, she'll answer all your questions.
It would be 4 hours extra a week. Right now, it is a 30-hour position. A week would simply be going to 34.
Why is it necessary?
Okay, let me give you a little history of what happened here. I had myself and 2 specialists and a deputy director. A few years ago, we had a lot of budget cuts, and I went to a 30-hour specialist, a 40-hour specialist, and a deputy director. The deputy director in March decided to retire after 28 years. We replaced the deputy director. We didn't replace the deputy director. That position now has gone to a specialist, which is a considerable difference, a reduction in income earned and pay. So then we had the 30-hour position. My 30-hour position, who had the existing 30-hour position, did post into and ultimately got the 40-hour position, so we had a 30-hour position. This is very confusing. If you lose me, let me know. Somebody from another department in the county did post in for the 30-hour position and ultimately got the 30-hour position. That individual was working for EMS. So at the same time that EMS, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, did cut a position from their department. So it worked out quite well in the beginning because we had that position 30 hours, EMS had that position 10 hours. Then EMS ultimately filled that position with a 36-hour position, correct? So then my person who was working 30 hours for me worked 30 hours for me, 4 hours for EMS, and then ultimately the DA and Corporation Council needed that position for 6 hours a week for their work. So this same person was working 30 hours for me, 4 hours for EMS, and 6 hours for the DA and Corporation Council. I could really use that individual 4 hours. I lost a person that had 28 years experience. I am taking on a lot of that responsibility. I have some financial work that really needs to be done. It's not going to be any cost. My budget is going to be fine simply because I had budgeted the entire year for the deputy director, and that position is now a specialist. So there would not be any financial ramification. That's why I'm asking for the extra 4 hours.
Any other questions?
Could you explain those hours again?
I would actually love to. Sounds kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? But yes, there will not be a financial burden. I am not going to sit here and tell you that I don't know what's going to happen next year either with the state budget. I'm sure everybody's watching the news. The state budget is not looking good for child support, but it's looked bad in the past. I really feel that by the end of the year, the legislators are going to come to their senses and are going to fund child support just like they've done in the past. But right now, I guess they're making a point. But I don't think we're going to have as many problems as we've had in the past. Any other questions?
Any other discussion on the floor? We've got a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Weddy?
Aye.
Mr. Downey?
Aye.
Mr. Eckstein?
Aye.
Mrs. Palata? Aye. Mr. Weiss?
Aye.
Mr. Gellerup?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
Mr. Kirschner?
Aye.
Mrs. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Tim?
Aye.
Mr. Piasky?
Aye.
Is all ayes, so it's passed. Is there any other suggestions for future items on our county board? Larry?
I have a couple. First, we've recently approved over $7 million in bonding for improvements to be done in the county. I think we should have a report monthly as to how those projects are proceeding. Unless we're on those committees that are directly involved, we don't really hear a whole lot of what's going on. A second item is I contacted the administrative department almost 2 months ago to get some information as to what the county policy was on paying citizen representatives on some of these committees. I was told the executive committee was going to discuss it, but until this point, I have not had a response of any kind.
Okay.
I can respond a little bit to that. We just finished up the survey of the departments, so we made sure we identified who's all in that particular situation, and then it'll go back to the executive committee in August, the first part of August, so.
And up till this month, Dave Peterson, our sheriff, has been keeping us pretty well informed on the radio project. Otherwise, I don't know if anything has changed since last time or not on that. But no, it's a good idea.
No, it's a wonderful idea. I can give you the
don't get me
phone
wrong.
update if you want. I can do that right now if you want, but I'll make sure that everything is, next month you'll get do you want it just written in your packets, or do you want to hear verbally everything? You want to see it? Okay. So a written report, okay.
Okay, any other items? Everett? Motion to adjourn, do we have a second? Second by Fred Gallerup. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, we're adjourned.
I'll slug it down. Give it to me, I can use it.
Okay, good.
You can have this.
Got a bubbler out in the hallway.
In North Carolina, they call them water fountains.
Well, they said
They
you
laughed
want-
at me when I said bubbler.
Who's the committee over there, and I get what
The other ladies didn't know what a bubbler was.
Yeah, I don't even know this
Midwestern.
I don't even know if he started working on the kitchen building yet.
Sure, definitely. That's a good one. Real good.
Nobody says anything. Gotta go. Hurry up.
Hurry up.
What do you mean, hurry up?
Hurry up. I gotta find my wife. Yeah. I've got one too.
Was planning to come anyway.
I use these once in a while. I have it at home, but I always better take it home. 'Cause I
The rain, I enjoyed the rain the best. But you know what? We hardly got anything.
No, yeah, David, we got.
Not much. Did pour.
Okay, maybe Ruth can do
Oh, I didn't. I got a little puddle.
Sure.
I'll talk
Your sand needs it more than mine does.